How true is this? Most people would rather work with someone who's mediocre at their job, but pleasant to be around, than a person who's exceptionally good, but a dick. I was learning IT stuff and got stuck at a wall with imposter syndrome and was scared I wasn't good enough, but Godfather offered the advice and the question. Son, even if you are mediocre, as long as you're decent to be around, they'll help you or give you a pass, for the most part. Essentially, he was saying, even if I was an IT god rockstar engineer, if I was a complete asshole, no one would give a fuck, and would hope I'd leave the company, even if I made everyone's job easier. Has that been true of your experience? Note mediocre in this context was just being average and baseline competent. Not slacking off and making work harder generally for everyone else. Yep. I work in IT and I'm on a lot of interview panels, and we don't actually even look for IT skills at all, for customer-facing positions, because it's so much easier to teach someone good computer skills than it is to teach someone good people skills. Meanwhile, I remember an interview I had for phone tech support where they failed me for not having protocol numbers memorized. This blew up and I need to work today. The only technical question I ask is they are okay working with computers that have bad LRF support. For those going, huh? That's the response I'm looking for. It stands for little rubber feet, and if they go on and on about their LRF skills, I cannot trust them and will not hire them. I had an employee who was one of my best workers I have had, but he was just an absolute asshole. No one wanted to work with him and it got to a point where people would call in if they were going to be on a job with him. So yeah, he might have been great, but in the grand scheme productivity dropped because people avoided him. I had to let him go after several warnings about changing his attitude. I wish more managers understood this trade-off. One person getting more things done, but everyone around them getting less things done. What's the actual benefit? Are you going to try and solve a multivariable differential equation just to calculate if they are worth it in the long term? No. Get rid of them so you don't lose work and talent in the rest of the company. This has been scientifically proven, I am pretty sure, lol. I was going to make this point. We had a guy like this, although, having seen his work, I wouldn't say he was nearly as talented as management thought he was, and he nearly wrecked the team he ran. Some of the guys could tolerate him, but most disliked working with him for asshole reasons, and I myself was on the verge of going to the VP and insisting I report to anyone else. The young women all despised and avoided him for harassment reasons. There was one older woman on the team, who happened to be our best tech talent, who had one foot out the door because she hated working with him. Fortunately, management came to their senses and fired him and promoted her into his position before she left, but we definitely lost younger talent because of him, both men who thought he was a dick and women who thought he was a creep. Yeah, there is sort of this myth out there that if you're really good enough you can be a total asshole and people will tolerate it because you're just so awesome. For no reason in particular, let's call it the house syndrome. It doesn't fucking exist. And if it did, it sure as hell doesn't apply to anyone reading this post. You are not a truly once-in-a-generation talent. And you know what? Even if a person were a once-in-a-generation talent, they would still be better off not being an asshole. I worked with a CT once. Nobody else would work with her. She made a new girl cry herself to sleep every night. When I worked with her, I second-guessed everything I did, because what if I got it wrong? It really sucked. Productivity got worse. I almost quit my first week. I later worked with a less than average person. Sometimes, I had to pick up the slack. Sure, it was a bit stressful sometimes, but at that point, I knew the job, so I only had to pay a little more attention to make sure the important things didn't get missed. She was nice, and you could tell she was trying. That alone made her among the top 5 people I worked with at that company. With her, I had the energy and motivation to actually do the freaking job. We sometimes even went that mythical extra mile and did stuff that we didn't have to do, just because we were bored and had the time. If they're a dick and their job involves interacting with other human beings, then they are not good at their job, at least not all parts of it. My shitty coworker is perfectly pleasant to customers but is awful to coworkers. Yeah, if you're an asshole, you're not good at your job. Every job involves interacting with other people. Personally, I can teach someone new skills, but there's no cure for being a cunt. There's no cure for being a cunt. There is, but it's a felony. Some people you can't teach new skills. Careful with that. I've been an IT professional for 20 plus years and I'm not super technical. However, I've made a very comfortable living out of working well with people. At the end of the day, your manager, supervisor, director just wants the job done. More often than not, this requires a collaboration of resources. Same here, but for 13 years so far. I'm knowledgeable in a decent variety of IT areas but by no means a master of any of them. Actually, oftentimes I feel like I don't even do anything but reach out to other teams to help me get shit fixed. But I think that's why people come to me for stuff. They know I know how to get stuff resolved because I know people from many different areas. I'm a low-level manager now, but I also spend like half my day just shooting the shit with my boss in his office, and I think he just likes having someone to talk to, especially now that almost everyone except my team is working from home. It's awesome. At the same time, I feel like at some point someone will catch on to me and be like, WTF, why are we paying this guy at all? Just a general thought regarding imposter syndrome. Everyone works at different paces. I find myself feeling like I'm doing everything wrong because I'm done working on tasks co-workers are still doing. But just because I was fast didn't mean I was wrong. It was just an area of the job I was fast at. I also took over for someone who left who had regularly made me feel bad at my job because he didn't stress about the things I stressed about. Turns out he didn't stress about them because he just didn't do them. The more you know about what there is to know, the less you think that you know. It's the people who are ignorant of their ignorance who think they are God's gift to the workplace. You'll always have moments where you're overwhelmed by how much you don't know, but don't let it discount from the vast amounts you do. Ignorance is fleeting. In new domains of knowledge, it's easy to feel overly confident. However, that's usually followed by a steep reality check, followed by genuine mastery. Dunning-Kruger is real. Extremely true. There's this one girl at my work who is giant bitch. She is snobby and snappy and treats new employees like they're moronic children. She's also the best worker, so for a long time management just let her shitty-ass attitude continue. The new manager is firing her because of her shitty attitude, thankfully. I prefer working with people who aren't as skilled. It does mean I have to pick up more slack, but at least I can have pleasant conversations while doing so. And like another person said, you can train people to become more skilled. You can't train them into not being a bitch. Most jobs don't require a genius to perform. So if two people perform the job reasonably well, I'd rather work with the pleasant person versus the dick. I worked for a struggling company that went through several rounds of layoffs. They found the easiest way to decide who to lay off was to start with the assholes and get rid of them. Morale was tanking, but the fact that we no longer had to work with dicks made the experience a little more bearable. Turns out layoffs are a really handy way to easily get rid of people you just don't want to work with anymore. I've since witnessed several of those assholes be denied even an interview at my current employer because of course when they get an application from someone they know I used to work with, they ask me what I think. I often wonder if assholes realize the long-term consequences of being assholes. God, I was just having this conversation with a coworker today. I'd rather work with a pleasant idiot than a genius negative butthead every day of the week. If you're kind, nice, don't bring the mood down, don't make me feel any negative emotions, or give me stress, then yeah, I'd prefer that every single time to a savant with a bad attitude. I had a total dicks work for me. Technically very good, but lack of communication and daily shitty attitudes just made them worthless to me. I've also had the exact opposite end. Dude was a politician-level communicator, but was technically useless. But despite his technical worthlessness, he did help improve the communication skills of those around him, while the total dick just brought everyone down. Although to be fair, he also had a negative effect on morale. He was the type to fail upwards. As an employer as well, I have recently fired my best skilled employee for being a complete pain. All of my other employees' production levels have improved dramatically since the recent development, and profits have grown. Funny that he said that the company was going to go bankrupt without him. I have never seen anyone get fired for being mediocre. I have seen a few people get fired for being assholes. Absolutely. Nobody expects anyone to be perfect at their job. If you're human, you make mistakes or sometimes just don't know how to fix a problem. It's a lot easier to work with nice human beings than it is to work with inflexible pricks who are masters of their field. Unless you are running a company or doing cutting-edge research, very few people will tolerate insufferable bastards, no matter how skilled they are. Funny, seems like most people in research that I know are insufferable bastards. Especially the famous ones. I was absolute garbage at my last job, engineering heavy industrial lasers. It turns out it's pretty important to not be terrible at this job, otherwise things explode. I had my job for 15 months because I organized the Friday bowling events. I got management to be okay with coming up to an hour late as long as you hit 40 hours, and I made playlists with everyone's music for in the lab. I exploded literally hundreds of thousands of dollars of equipment. I know because they mentioned it as they explained to me that I was terrible at my job, but they want me in a non-exploding capacity doing sales, which I was also terrible at. It's good to be liked at work. There are 3 criteria to be successful: kindness, competence and reliability. Unlearning a habit is exponentially harder than learning a new skill. Competency, especially domain knowledge, is learned while immersed in your current job. With kindness and reliability, you already had decades of head start to work on them before you even look for work. If you're a dick for 18 years of your life, then how reliably can you unlearn being dick in a few months? By the way, everyone starts from zero knowledge. I am also in the IT industry. I'd rather work with someone who is kind and says they don't know something than a dick who thinks they know everything. The first one is open to learning, second one have their cup full. Good luck on your IT work. If you have time, learn smart contracts and apps.